Hey, welcome to the Friday night recap, man. Week 1 is in the books. I'm Ward Faso. That's Professor Diggs, Kenny Matthews on this thing, and we're all at different games tonight. We were all at different games last night. It's week 1, and there's some throws. Let's get right to it because I know Diggs has got to start that dump in about 30 minutes. But, man, some of the one I was at is probably the biggest one that I saw, besides that major comeback, by Rockwell Heath against Highland Park, which we can talk about in a second. That was wild, wasn't Diggs? You saw that? You saw that score pop across.
Yeah,
28 in the fourth, in the second half to 28 straight actually in the second half to take care of Highland Park. And the key is that's at Highland Park. That just doesn't happen. 52-49, and it did happen with Rodney Webb's bunch. What y'all thought about that one?
Well, I mean, just think about it. When's the last time that Highland Park lost? Wasn't that to like Lone Star like about 6-7 years ago?
Lone Star with Marvin Mims and them. So, yeah, it was a while ago for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, it doesn't happen very often. And when I saw the halftime,
it doesn't happen when they have a big lead, too, either, right? It never happens. And it's not like Buck Randall had a bad game. I mean, he threw 400 yards here and 5 touchdowns, and he found Tanner Bozeman all night long. He had 4 touchdowns and 209 yards receiving, but Rockwell Heath just made it happen. I mean, they start off with that big punch in the mouth. They got a kickoff return for a touchdown to start the game, punched him right in the mouth, but that didn't do anything. And then they somehow came in the second half. It was just amazing to me how that happened.
Especially to a Randy Allen team. They normally don't give up. If they have a big lead, you can almost send that to the cooler. You know, it's not like they're going to give that thing up at all. And I mean, for them to do that in the backyard with the backdrop of downtown Dallas, that's a huge win for Mr. Webb. Huge.
We're going to show you some scores as we go from Diggs spreadsheet. And they both have tough games coming up next too. Heath is going against Prosper, who just upset Austin Westlake in neutral site, and Lovejoy is taking on Highland Park, I believe, next week at home, and Lovejoy took down Lubbock Cooper. Looking at some of these scores here, first of all, I don't like the fact that Dick's got a lot of L's on his side. He usually don't start off with that many L's, but you seem like LD Bell against Trinity on this tip. What's all these L's doing here?
It's rough. I mean, when we start, we're starting at 3-6A as we often do, and the way the spreadsheet is working is generally the home team is going to get the visitor team will get the district play in here. So 3-6A, we got Mansfield Lake Ridge beating Frisco Reedy. I mean, that is an absolute shocker to me as we start going on this. I think that says a lot about Frisco Reedy and some of the issues that they're going to be having this year. And then how about Mansfield Legacy with a 1-point win over Justin Northwest, and Saginaw Boswell 12-6 win over Denton Braswell. That's a pretty big win as well.
Yeah, nickel dimer there. That looked like it was excruciating to get yardage in that game, the way that thing was going on. And I was at the Lake Ridge Reedy game. Yeah, I kind of felt bad for the Reedy quarterback because the offensive line wasn't really working for him. He had to roll right on almost every play that he had going there. And once they start running the corner blitzes on him, that's probably not going to work either. Quality win for Lake Ridge for a team that lost to him last year, 61-7. Come back and win it at their place was a quality win right there. If you move on to 4-6A, you know, we had cameras over there at the Trinity Straight Jesuit game, and they just dominated that thing from start to finish. You know, Straight Jesuit has this running back, Johnny Abear, had 3,500 yards last year. I don't even think he got 100 this game. He couldn't get the ground going there. I think everybody's keying in on him, and Trinity sure did, winning that one 33-7.
Yeah, how about Prosper Rock Hill defeating Keller Timber Creek 20-19? And to me, a shocker just because of point margin. I know there are some people who say it's all about wins in week 1, but Northwest Eaton with a very competitive loss to Denton Ryan, 26-20. I don't know if that's going to speak more to Eaton or if that speaks more to Denton Ryan, but Eaton's got my attention, especially since Keller lost to Marcus this week. They could slide in. We'll talk about that on the dump as the number 4 team in that district, because we've talked about how wide open that is all week or all off season really. And for them to do that is a phenomenal week 1 start. And then South Lake Carroll does what South Lake Carroll does. They go to Midland and take care of business 49-0.
Dude, South Lake Carroll may have the best 2 junior tackles in the state. You know, you got Tristan Dare going to Michigan. You've got Luke Wilson going to Oklahoma. And those guys are back next year. So, I mean, they're pretty good, man. 2 bookends, and they can do some damage with that for sure.
Yeah, and Keller shouldn't have got a big win to start off the season, too. And if we stay in 4-6A, Byron Nelson, that was a neutral deal out there, and they played Friendship, and they just tore them apart, and they beat them by 23. It was a quality win there, and they face Louisville next week.
Absolutely. Going to 5-6A, I mean, Coppell, I called that on 4. I called it 4 scores, Ward, and Coppell did not give me 4 scores. That was a game where Saxe had an opportunity in the 4th quarter to make a little bit of noise there, but they hang on and win. And what can you say about Alito and that defense? That game was bowling shoe ugly.
Absolutely.
But Alito had 50 total yards of offense or 50 total passing yards, and just could not. Denton Guyer could not get anything going. Alito with a 21-14 victory. We talked about Marcus and Keller. Marcus with a big 31-28 win. Louisville in a game that got a little bit hampered by a light out. The lights went out over at Mansfield. But hey, they took care of business, 31-7.
Yeah, that Coppell game, we were looking at who was going to replace our boy Eddie Griffin, and Carter Zingelman came in there with 3 touchdowns on the ground. It looks like he's going to be running a lot more. He did throw for 200, but didn't throw any touchdowns in that game. And, yeah, you're right about Alito Guyer. That thing was just neither team got over 250 yards, total yards, which you would not expect.
I think when Kadrick Cobbs ran off the 38-yard TD run, it almost matched their total yards in the game in the 3rd quarter.
Yeah, they're going to have to get that thing sharpened up, because I think they got Martin next week, and Alito's got Lancaster. So let's go into 6A. I know there's some teams that we don't want to talk about here, but how about the Midland teams taking a beating from our DFW teams? Allen they didn't care. They just beat them down 46-13. Congratulations to Plano West. That's a huge win right there. I mean, that team needed some momentum. We're going to give that the Kendall Miller factor. Going over to Plano ISD, he must have put something on him. And they took out Lamar, Lamar was trying to compete for a playoff spot in the 8-6A. They still are, but it's not a district. But to score 14 against Plano West and lose that one. And then Prosper, we talked about that big upset win. And then I don't even see Plano East on this spreadsheet, but I know they played. And I know they lost pretty badly.
Well, we'll get there. It's where you are. It's where you're mapped.
I got you.
But Prosper almost blew that lead. If you remember last year, Prosper, got up on Westlake early and Westlake in the second half took care of business. But Prosper got up big enough this year to where that ended up holding on in that game. Going to 7-6A, we kind of talked about it. Pascal and MacArthur being one of those games that, could really give us a lot of information about both teams. Pascal with a big win over Irving MacArthur, 20-14. And then Creekview with a solid win over Irving, 49-21. And then, Kenny, where you were at, Hebron just dominated Jesuit. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about that, because –
man, it was a well-balanced attack. I mean, Ashton McCray, Jones had 2 TD runs. It was a physical game for them.
How the new QB look?
Yep, he looked good. I was about to say Brady Brock looked really good. I mean, he's a little small, and he's just a junior, but he's really active in the pocket. Throws a really good deep ball. That was kind of, one. I thought he had really good touch on the ball. And it was just one of those games that I think coach is going to be really happy about. They just controlled the line of scrimmage. And the one thing that Jesuit could not do was third down. They could not get off the field. Every third and long, man, it seemed like they converted. You could just see the deep sigh out of the Jesuit bench every time. And then they had one turnover that turned into 7. I mean, it was about as thorough as a beating you're going to get week 1. We thought this was going to be a competitive game. We really did going in.
In a game that was competitive, I know, Wizzy, every year this is competitive, and I figured that this was actually going to – once I saw that Arlington Lamar and Plano West score, it kind of gave me a little bit of doubt about about the Arlington ISD, and I think that kind of showed itself in this Bowie versus Flower Mound game. Flower Mound, this game went to overtime, and Bowie eked it out, Ward. It was a bad night for all three of us. We got the L, and L down here.
L's all the way around.
And you can see all the L's I've got on my pick'ems this week.
At least Ward was competitive.
We were looking for who was going to be the new quarterback there at Flower Mound. It's Barron Simpson. He did throw 3 touchdowns, but he got them 2 picks in here. And you know how much I feel about the turnover, the pick to TD ratio. I don't like that. I don't like seeing it. All right, keep going with some 8-6A stuff.
And then Martin, I mean, I expected them to lose at Lake Travis, but, that still gives me a little bit of optimism about Arlington Martin this year. A lot of people were very high on Irving Nimitz. You can see I took the L with Irving Nimitz because I got that new slot T offense. But Sam Houston with a pretty nice win for me, 28-14, showing me that Sam Houston is not dead and gone. They're going to be very competitive. Naaman Forest with a big win over Grand Prairie, but one of the eye-popping scores this week was South Grand Prairie against Rowlett. This was a Friday game at 1:00, 72-14. Ward, 72-14. They go 70 on us.
I bet they tried to call off the dogs too, and they just the dogs were like, "No, I don't want it." My second string wanted to get some points in there too. Josiah Lucas with the 190 some yards. It was ridiculous, man.
Okay, Josiah Lucas, the San Diego State commit. Look out for him. I think he told me 2 weeks ago that they were going to have a bounce back year. And boy, they came out with gangbusters. Him and Cade Wallace, the Stephen F. Austin commit.
And a game that we were all talking about last night, and it almost had an incredible finish, the Lakeview Centennial and Richardson game. That game was 14-7, and basically Lakeview Centennial has a miracle finish, like an 86-yard touchdown, but then Richardson blocks the extra point to hold on 14-13 over Lakeview Centennial. For me, if Richardson is taking a next step, that's not the way we take a next step right there. You got to... a win is a win. People say we don't apologize for wins, but I think we got to apologize for that one just a little bit if we're going to be a top area team, because 14-13 is not what we want to see there. And a couple of other surprising scores as you kind of start digging into the Garland ISD scores. You got Wiley. That game was final. It's actually 24-21. So that's a little bit of a typo there. But Wiley missed a field goal to that would have tied the game and send it to overtime. So Wiley ends up losing 24-21 to Pierce. McKinney Boyd with new coach Stu Jackson. They have a very nice win to get things started out with 49-9. And now we're getting into 10-6A, and this is where you start to see a little bit of the sadness kick in for Digsy. And this is a district where you want to reward Royce City. Like, look at that score. Royce City absolutely dominant over Plano East, 48-14. But who are you going to punish? Because you got Rockwall Heath with an upset victory over Rockwall Heath, 52-49. You've got Longview defeating Lufkin, 41-16. You got Rockwall beating Burtner, 33-12. You got last night, Forney and Lake Highlands, 37-34. Who in 10-6A is the weak link right now?
Can somebody please pass that district or down a district to 10-6A? Because that thing is very doomful, if that's a word. I don't know who the 4 teams are to make the playoffs. I know who's not making it. It's the team that we don't talk about out in East Texas.
Tyler Legacy, they lost to Texas High, and they're the only ones that kept this district from being a success this past week, because all the other 10-6A teams won and had an impressive win. Royce City, we talked about it last week that this was we talked about it in the podcast where that I just didn't know what we're going to get out of this because we knew they're sophomores. You did a story on them. I mean, you saw how giddy Coach Colvin was about those sophomores. What was that going to be like at the varsity level? It was big. It was physical. It was dominant is what it was. So even at this point, I don't know what to make of Plano East just because Royce City was so dominant in that game. Is that a precursor of what Royce City is, or is that what Plano East is at this point? We're going to need a little bit more data to figure it out. But 10-6A is the new District of Doom. And it's not like 11-6A. I mean, we got to find out what DeSoto is going to do. We don't know what Duncanville, Duncanville took the week off. I tried to get Matter Day to come out here and fly out here, but they weren't having it. But Lancaster with a quality loss against North Crowley. Yes, and then Waxahachie completely rolls Ennis. Skyline, we kind of knew Skyline and Mesquite. That's at the bottom of the district. And Mansfield barely holds on. Mansfield is our number 2 team in 3-6A, barely holding on to Mesquite Horn.
I don't know how competitive those district games are going to be. We haven't got down to too much, but with Crowley, I know we haven't talked about Crowley yet, but they lost, and they really couldn't get the ball to Antavius all that much. I'm worried about their quarterback situation. But, yeah, you look at 11-6A, Duncanville had a week off. DeSoto might as well have a week off. They're just going down to Atlanta or Georgia. The Devils are going down to Georgia just to whip up on somebody.
Vacation.
And North Florida, we were worried about, we heard that Ledson's going to throw it a little more. He didn't throw it that much against Skyline. Maybe he didn't need to, but he did run for another 3 touchdowns on the ground and 145. So another big day for him.
I really love the job that Coach Tolley's doing at Waxahachie, though. I really, really think that's a dark horse team that we need to be really paying attention to.
Well, they got Capel this week, man. I'm trying to get you to go to that game with me. You going, Kenny? It ain't too far from the house, man.
I'm going to Rock. I got to go to Rockwall on Thursday. Then I got to go to Capel. I got to go.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Capel's Friday. We'll go there Friday.
Capel's Friday. Yes, I'm going Friday. Yes.
I know I ain't getting Dixie. You got to go see his boys get whipped up again by North Florida. Hey, let's talk about 5A. I'm going to skip through some of this East Texas and West Texas stuff. We're going to talk about that. Continue to talk about Birdville. Quality win over Crowley. They didn't really have a lot of great offensive stats, but they did what they had to do to win that game. Yeah. And you had them favored by 35, so you must be impressed by Birdville.
All of a sudden, it's like, well, I don't know what we were expecting there, but we kept saying we think Crowley is going to take a step back. That is a step back. We're trying to figure out what it's going to look like with their new quarterback. There are definitely some questions there, but kind of going through some of the 5A Division I games, Lake Dallas with a nice win over Denton. And to me, and I've been talking about this, and you can see on Instagram, Ward, I've been getting the business from the Saginaw people.
Yeah,
they went 10-0 last year, and they're like, okay, where are we, Ward? You lost to Brewer by 30. So I think that's where you are right now. And you can see at the very bottom, one of the most impressive scores of the night, and we'll kind of scroll up here. Ooh. Arlington Heights and Everman. Look at that score.
That's crazy. That's wild. 16-0. Somebody put step on this podcast. By the way, nice little comeback by Richland in that game. My guy, who I'm under the radar rooting for, is Federico Roberson. He still ran for 200 in that game for Halton, but it didn't have enough to stop whatever Gates kids out there throwing the ball around. Whatever Gates kids out there did it again. 52, but you're right. Arlington Heights, that's a statement right there.
That's a statement.
It's a statement for all the Fort Worth teams because the other team in that district that had a player now doesn't have that player no more. As Dvorsky transferred to Grapevine, just gave up on football. So
somebody needs to let us know the last time they won 60-0. That's what I really want to know.
Mineral Wells with a big win over Fort Worth Poly, 54-0. And then one of the stories of the night on Thursday, what about Diamond Hill Jarvis? A 46-game losing streak over a South Hills team, 26-14. Big win. Moving to the Frisco district.
First win, Erwin Garcia as a head coach.
Nice.
Bringing that back. One of the big shockers in the state. How about Frisco Lone Star? Just a dominant 600 yards of offense. Carice Hoyt is basically the new Davian Gross because they put him basically at wide receiver. They had another running back get 100 yards. Trey Wright over 300
yards. They unleashed
yards.
Trey Wright. That's the story. They unleashed him. They hold him back. Even Todd Rogers told me before this game on Monday, he's like, I hope they don't unleash him on me. I said, man, they're going to unleash him. You're going to see what's happening here. But that's what happened to that one. Let's go through some of these other ones.
Yeah, Frisco Wakeland only beating Grapevine by 1. That's that's kind of one of those shocker games that you look at things and go, okay, Wakeland. Who's going to make the playoffs in this district is kind of because you had Reedy with a bad game, you had Wakeland kind of with a bad game. McKinney North loses 16-17.
Heritage.
I don't even know who's throwing the ball for Heritage because it wasn't that kid, the Greek kid from Ferris. They had a different guy in there. Maybe there's an injury that took place, or maybe I missed a graduation.
Yeah,
kind of moving down to 6-5A. Brian Adams with an upset win over Fort Worth Southwest, 32-30. And then R.L. Turner with a nice win over Conrad, 17-6.
Talk to me about this, Dix, because you have only been saying Princeton was going to win this game since I don't know when, and then you picked West Mesquite, and you were
by 2. Like I tell you, this is my I made a post that if I pick you by 2, that's my no confidence pick. And all of a sudden, 41-36. I should have stuck with my guts, Ward. Tell me about
you
this.
Should have. You've been saying it since April. Oh my goodness!
What changed your mind?
I just thought I bought into West Mesquite's hype. I keep saying, okay, I'm going to go with the safe route and take West Mesquite in this one. I mean, they were state ranked. I've been hearing some people tell me that West Mesquite is even better. The defense is even better. Well, giving up 41, we know Princeton's got a really good offense, but a pretty shocking loss. Well, I mean, I'm sure around the state, if you listen to our podcast, we've been kind of talking about it, that Princeton and West Mesquite are a little bit more evenly matched than you would think. But big win for Princeton. And then 7-5A, a lot of the questions there. Joshua, last year they won this game against Springtown. They were completely obliterated by Springtown this week, 30-9. Cedar Hill and Midlothian. Wizzy, I know you were kind of that was one of your game on your radar.
You Midlothian in winning that one, but Cedar Hill unleashed a new quarterback, Muhammad. He only had 3 incompletions and threw for 191 yards, so maybe they're going to do it in the air this year.
Not bad at all.
Nope.
Kind of moving down to 5A Division II. Burleson with a pretty big win over Burleson Centennial, 45-21.
The boot
has come to the Elks. Arlington Seguin looks like nothing's wrong with Arlington Seguin. It's 58-6 win over North Mesquite.
They got some talent in Seguin. They really do have some talent there. They need numbers, but they got some talent there.
How about that Red Oak win? Good grief. I was kind of thinking, I know they were at home, and I know they got a Notre Dame commit there, but I was expecting
Braylon Robertson had a TD pass in that game that. What was that halftime score? 8-7?
8-7. There was a point where we had that game was 8-7, and then Rock Hill against Timber Creek was 6-5. So we had 8-7 and 6-5 dueling halftime scores at one point. Anna holds on 31-28.
They had to, and we don't talk a lot about private schools, but man, did Cooper Witten have a game for Liberty Christian? That was ridiculous. He had. I'll have to take a look at what his stats were, but they were ridiculous. If you want to keep going on with the scores, but
yeah, I mean, all the big teams in 4-5A won because you had Anna win, Melissa. I mean, Don Bosco, that's a national powerhouse, but they gave them everything they wanted.
They're up by
14-10. And then Lovejoy goes out to Lubbock Cooper. Lubbock Cooper has been a pain in the side of Lovejoy and the other DFW schools, 35-31. And Kenny, I'll let you talk about the next one about Newman Smith. I had my comeuppance already. Tell us about this Walnut Grove Newman Smith.
Stick your head up.
that whitewash that happened out there at Standard Stadium tonight. That's what happened. That's what we call NC, non-competitive. 49 points at half. Now, I talked to Coach Boone last week, and he said, listen, I probably chopped off a little bit more than I'm probably wanting to, but I think they had some scheduling conflicts, so they kind of got together at the realignment. I'll say this. They won't be on the schedule next 2 years for sure. I know that for sure now. Coach Boone was hoping that he can get one of those, what we call a close loss, to give us a mental week. Thank God for Fossil Ridge coming to town. I mean, that's going to be the one thing that's going to be able to get that out of their mind, because that was ugly tonight.
16
given that
for Hayes
Fossil
Hackney.
Ridge and the Colony had, they got some revenge that they want to get out of their game. So I don't know, somebody's going to get their lick back in that game.
Yep, Fossil Ridge they had high graduation last year. Yeah. You can tell that they're just very inexperienced right now, but they have some tools to work with. So, like you said, Diggs, that could be more of a competitive game than I envisioned, 24 hours ago.
Let's talk about some of the DISD games, Ward, because there are some surprises here. You got Hillcrest. They were up 20-7 in that game. WT White roars back 26-20. I thought Molina, because Samuel last year had some issues with the transfers and what was considered eligible, so we thought Samuel might take a step back. 46-6 win over Molina. That's obviously a big win for Samuel. I think that's putting them in the competitive nature of that district. South Oak Cliff and North Shore, there it is.
Willie Scooter says it, man. What a win. That was a hell of a win. I was at that one tonight, man. It's one thing. Their defense kind of held up against North Shore in the first half. You kind of expect that with a Kyle Ward team, but what you don't expect is the way they ball controlled and pushed North Shore all over the field. You had Trotter with 194 yards. You had Levon Morton with 153, and they were running the same two plays. They ran it to the right side as he cut it outside, and then he would cut up the middle for another big gainer. Man, that was an impressive win, and it may be impressive roll into Duncanville next week. That's going to be a heck of a game.
Yeah.
Shout out to Thomas Jefferson. Big win over Carter Riverside, 28-14.
Yeah. Big win there, and big win for Cleburne. Got one over Corsicana when you thought you might have thought Corsicana was going to pull it out. Didn't happen. Crandall with the big win. Frisco Heritage, they got Tatum Bell back, and he had a nice game. He thought he was going to go to Lewis for like 5 seconds, and he's back at Frisco Heritage, and they dominate Greenville in that one.
Yeah, let's talk about some of these small schools. We'll just kind of go quickly because we are running out of time here.
Man.
Stephenville and Midlothian Heritage. I remember you sent me a text message with your thoughts on that, Ward. You want to share that with us?
Things aren't looking well for Midhill. I thought they were going to give them a better showing than they did last year. They did give them a little better showing, but man, Stevensville just overtowered them. I think everybody shut down scoring in the second half in that one.
Yeah, big one for Brock over Decatur, 52-31. Looking at some of these scores, Van. I think if you're a Carter fan, you got to be a little bit excited about how competitive they were against Van. 38-35 in that game. Eagle Mountain, that was a game. Eagle Mountain's one of those teams we've been talking about. I thought Jacksboro would take care of business, but hey. Shout out to Eagle Mountain. I think they've arrived quicker than we thought. And Grandview with a nice win over Glenrose, 28-14. Paradise. Woo! We keep talking about Paradise. We're going to have to send you out to the country roads. 71-0 over Gainesville. This is a team that is ready to make a state championship run. And what about Sunnyvale? Big win over Aubrey, a convincing win, 35-17. Kind of look
That's
at some
dark horse team in Sunnyvale, 7-on-7, man, on defense and offense this year, and the most underrated quarterback in the state of Texas.
Oh, he said it first.
I know Carthage and Kilgore. That's one of those games you got to keep an eye on if you're going out to East Texas at any point. Carthage is still what Carthage is, but what about Peaster and Toller? Peaster 34-0 on those Rattlers.
Honda with the big win in the 70s.
Absolutely dominant.
And then Life Oak Cliff must be getting some more players in there that didn't go to North Crowley because they came up with a smackdown of Kemp.
Pilot Point with a big 55-3 win, and Whitesboro. Whitesboro is one of the teams I told you to keep an eye on this year. Whitesboro with a big win as well. Kind of going down to some of the 2As. Pottsboro with a big win over Bells, 41-14. Palmer is a team that you got to keep an eye on in 3A Division I. Absolutely destroy Blooming Grove, 65-12. And then going down to 2A, last night we had Tioga and Collinsville. Collinsville had a big win over Tioga. Yeah. And Honeygrove holds on, but they beat Hugo 21-20.
21-20. All right. Well, listen, Diggsy, I know you're about ready to start the dump here in a second. I'm glad y'all tuned in for some scores. We're going to be doing this every week, talking about all the games that we were at and the scores that happened. Try to get through these scoreboards quickly. I know we like to talk a lot, but pay attention to Diggs. He's about ready to give you his own personal analysis coming up here right now. So thank you very much for joining us.
See you next week.